side since we've lost the art show, but an important meeting to going forward.
You know,
Okay.
Corey isn't here either. Is she planning to be here? Kathy, do you know?
I'm sorry.
Corey is
Hello.
a president.
Corey.
Oh,
Hello.
I don't recognize you with all this hair. Hey, Corey, sorry. I
Hi.
didn't.
Oh no, I'm not surprised at all. I'm totally different now.
Okay.
You know, it's
Good
my
to
COVID
see you.
hair.
Good to see you. I'm glad to see you.
Hi.
It's good seeing everyone, really. Okay, Kathy, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner Helfrey, Commissioner Stevens,
She's muted, I think.
My bad. Present. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring Miss Helfrey in right now too. Commissioner Hudson,
This is Hudson. Here.
yes. Commissioner Tripp, Commissioner Lawson,
Here.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Chair Siebert,
Here?
Council Liaison Garatano,
Here.
Staff Liaison Cruz,
Here.
Commissioner Helfrey.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, good. Okay, on our agenda, the number 3 is approval of the minutes from September 8th. If you've, does anyone need a moment or two to go through them?
If they don't, I would motion that we accept them as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried to accept the minutes from September 9th, 2020. I may have said September 8th before. I meant the 9th. Okay. All right, are there any public comments?
No, ma'am, none were submitted and we have no attendees on the Zoom call.
Okay. All right, the next item is discussion of the proposed budget for our Celebrate Wildwood in 2021. That would be April, in April. So, Mr. Vunich, do you want to start with that? Take us
Yes, Madam
through
Chair.
that?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. And Madam Chair and members of the commission, it is nice to see you all. I hope you've been healthy and well. Since our last meeting, a lot has transpired, and I thought Chair Siebert did a very nice job of explaining kind of the general circumstances the city is facing regarding revenues and expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year 2021. Suffice to say that over the course of 2020, the Department of Planning and Parks has had to reduce its budget in terms of expenditures on a couple of occasions, starting right before COVID-19, the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, then at mid-year, which is a typical process, and then even once thereafter, as we've adjusted again for COVID-19. Those adjustments kind of bode unfavorably for the upcoming 2021 year, but we were hopeful that we would see a rebound in sales tax revenues and the other sources of revenue the city depends on to do all the things that it does for its residents, including its parks, recreation, and events. Unfortunately, near the end of September, the mayor asked that there be an across-the-board 11.5% reduction in both the parks component of the operating budget of the department, as well as the planning component of the same. That was a substantial amount in terms of just overall dollars. It equated to almost $125,000 of additional cuts on top of what already had been programmed since the start of the budgeting process. The difficult process led to a decision that we had to salvage one of two of the major events that we put on, those two being the Art Festival and Celebrate Wildwood. And from the perspective of the department, the leadership here at the City of Wildwood and our City Council, it would be hard to eliminate our anniversary celebration versus retaining an art festival. So the decision was made to eliminate the art festival and, for all intents and purposes, fully fund the Celebrate Wildwood event. And I guess that's the good news. So tonight I provided to you via email the action that you all took on the two budgets for the two major events. And as you can see, the budget approved by the commission for 2021 for Celebrate Wildwood was for approximately $95,000. And we have $93,000 budgeted for fiscal year 2021. So again, the good news is I think we can have a fully developed Celebrate Wildwood event with the money that the City Council graciously provided for the event. Madam Chair, Mr. Garitano, as the liaison from City Council, may want to make a few comments here. But to summarize, we have ample funds to do our annual event. We do not have any funds for the art festival.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Joe Garitano, any comments? Any
No.
additional comments?
Now, Joe did a good job explaining the situation. You know, I could get into more as far as the challenges we're facing with revenue constraints, primarily that we are dependent on sales tax for a big portion of the city's revenue. Other revenues that come in are more around certain fees, utilities, taxes. So it's not a Wildwood issue. It's an issue that's affecting all cities around us. And, it's been an issue for us because revenue growth has been at a slower pace than the rate of our expenses. So I think that, at least I'm thrilled that we can have a fully funded Celebrate Wildwood event. I think everyone's excited. It's a key event for our city. But hopefully we can restore the art festival in the year ahead if revenue situation gets better for us. So that's basically what I've got to share. I think, this isn't the only part of the city that was impacted. It was an impact in many other budgets.
Okay, thank you. And it's good. I mean, we all have to share in the pain, because if you're taking something away from the residents, then everything is going to be impacted. And all the communities around us, in Missouri, other states too, the disposable income that people have and that cities and towns bring in, it just isn't there this year. So it is what it is. And at least we have a good budget to put on a really nice anniversary event in April. Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I was heartened to hear Joe say that, both Joe say that possibly in the future, we would be able to go back to the, having two
Right.
separate events. So I think that's the hope that we have.
And there was one other thing that I mentioned to Joe Vunich. Can we, if there are any artists, invite them to celebrate Wildwood. It may not be a standalone event, but maybe there are some artists that might want to participate. So maybe we should consider that too. All right.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
to Ms. Ward, I think there is a solid commitment on the part of City Council to return the art festival as soon as possible as a standalone or at least a premier event, whether it's a component of another event or not. Mr. Garitano is part of a small committee that was formed by City Council of the 3 chairs of the subcommittees of City Council. So the chairs that, for the most part, manage the committees which manage the City Council to a certain degree, formed this program budget committee. And their charge is to look at expenditures, but also our fees, the things we charge on a day-to-day basis to contractors, developers, residents, the whole gambit. So I can assure you that we're going to be looking at the changes in how we do business relative to the Department of Parks and Recreation or the Department of Planning and Parks, with the intent to try to secure funding for the art festival in a more permanent way. And as Mr. Garitano said, they're looking at everything, and this small group has a big task, but I think they're up to it.
Good. One of the things that you mentioned, the Wildwood Business Association, are they going to either work or participate with us for Celebrate Wildwood?
Well, that's a very good question, Madam Chair, because the Wildwood Business Association stepped in early in this year, or I should say the latter part of last year and early part of this year, when the barbecue bash decision was made by the organizer to not hold it in Wildwood again. The WBA, the Wildwood Business Association, would like to do an event of that nature or caliber in town center. I think they've been leading more toward an early fall timeframe for that event. But I did want to identify it as a potential partnership and a positive partnership. The WBA has held several of its own events, standalone events, the food truck event over at Village Plaza, their Halloween event last year, and then the Winterfest in December of 2019. And all 3 were very successful in terms of bringing residents to the town center and to the event itself. So from that perspective, they'd be a good partner, but it's really up to the commission. Again, we've set the date as April 24th. I know the WBA was looking later in the year for their event, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't participate in April. So we have a lot of things to consider.
Does anyone else have any comments along that line regarding the WBA and possibly asking them if they would like to work with us?
I missed something fundamental here. Is the WBA working with us for the Celebrate Wildwood event or for the art show in the future?
I think they
Well,
will. I'm sorry, Madam
No,
Chair.
I for this year, celebrate, or the upcoming 2021 in April, Celebrate Wildwood, and then in 22, the art fair.
Okay,
But immediately Celebrate Wildwood event.
okay.
Would
Okay,
they be
Joe.
doing mostly sponsorships? What would be their, how would they actively participate?
I think they would like to do something along the lines of a barbecue or some type of food event and sell beer and other alcoholic drinks. They use it as a fundraiser. So depending on how we would want to do it, we could integrate it into a Friday night. We have the 5K. 5K may not actually be happening in 2021, so we could start the event with them on Friday evening if you would like, or consider it appropriate. They could have like the date night we had one year where we advertise Friday night is more of a couples night. Come out and hear the band, get some food, have some drink, come back with the kids to next day, that kind of thing.
So the proceeds that they would generate would go back into the event?
Well, their commitment has been that whatever the city might provide to them as seed money, they would return that once they exceeded the amount of revenue from the sale of the barbecue, the vendor spaces, the alcoholic beverages, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Ms. Helfrey has her hand up.
Okay, Vicki?
Thank you, Joe. I have a question about the 5K. You said that we aren't going to have the 5K. It's looking like we're not going to have it. So before you said that, my question was, where were the costs of that being covered going to come from? So my question is, number one, I guess, is it for sure that we're not having the 5K, and why or why not? And then my second question is, you had stated, I believe, I wrote down that you said that we were approved for 93,000. And this budget that we have on paper says 95,700. So I was curious where you thought we could cut the almost $3,000 so that we are within our budget. So that's what I had. Thank you.
Well, to answer your first question, Gary Cruz, Kathy Arnett, Bree Kelchin, who's our recreation specialist, Chris Parker, who's our administrative assistant, and I met this week. And the struggle we're having with some of our races and hikes is that a key component of it is the snack before the event and then the lunch or dinner afterwards. And we're just not sure what, with COVID-19, what we're going to do about food and that component of the event, meaning we buy pizzas, we open up the boxes, people come up and get the pizza out of the box with the tongs and things like that. And I just don't think COVID-19 is going to allow us to do that. So if we take that out of the event, I don't know if we'll have the same event that we intended to when we started. So we're debating back and forth about the half marathon, the 5K, the Green Rock Trail Challenge, and then the Shivering Shadows 7K. We're not sure how those are going to play out in 2021. But if the commission would prefer to have the WBA on a Friday night and the WBA would really be willing to do that, then certainly we could forego the Arbor Day Be Brave 5K. How we plan on funding it is COVID-19 has done a great thing. It's an opportunity to reset how you do things. And I think the clear direction from City Council is that we need to spend less on some of these events where the attendance is low. And the 5K has been one of those. We get about 125 to 150 participants, but for what we spend, it's a high amount per person. And those are the events we're looking at changing or eliminating.
So just for my own, to satisfy my own curiosity, what do you spend if you have a 5K that runs about 100 people? What's the average that you spend?
Yeah.
I ask because I don't do 5Ks. So.
Kathy, what's the number, or Gary? I can't remember.
I'm going to pull it up right now.
If you
So
give
do
us
you do-
a second.
Sure.
Without giving actual cost, the cost that people don't see, that only the organizers see, are the cost of the shirts that we give out, the cost of the awards, and the cost of food. Those three things alone are really expensive.
Well, that's what I was
people
going to
don't
ask.
realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why I was wondering, because when I saw that on here, I didn't see it in the budget of the 95,000. That's why I was curious. So, okay.
So the Arbor Day run last year was a $13,000.
Oh,
But the Shivering Shadows, which is a 7K and had about the same number of people, was about $9,000. And for each of those, that we charge for 5Ks in all of our runs, so we make back $3,000 to $4,000. The Frozen Feet, which is the half marathon that we run, it is almost about $18,000, but we bring in more than $13,000 in revenue from that event. So in that event, we have 300 plus people. So it varies. It varies on how much we charge. It varies on if we pre-order, sweatshirts, or if we do a t-shirt, the cost would be much less than what we've done. But those have been some of our keystone events that we've given away really nice giveaways for the price. So those are some of the things that we're looking at and adjusting.
well, I think that I like the 5K, just as an aside, just my own opinion, because my kids have done them. So I watched where people that are young to people that are old, I see all groups doing those 5Ks. I don't know what happens to the other ones. I'm on the sidelines with the poster board, so I can do those really well. But the 5Ks, I just noticed the ones that my kids have done, there's always a gamut of people. And so I was just curious. So thank you for answering my questions.
I think Karen has her hand up, Susan. Karen has her hand up.
Okay. I think the run is an important aspect of any event that we have, our trails, everything that we promote, that we do. I understand the budget restraint part of it. And I'm just wondering, perhaps if it's scaled back to t-shirts, maybe the awards are not as grand as they have been in the past. And regarding the food issue, what if you do prepackaged snack packs for the pre-race and afterwards a modest boxed lunch for that component? Is that possible for consideration? I would just, with us, postponing the event and needing to scale back on all other areas, it just sure seems like this is one aspect that we should keep before just scrapping right away,
Ms. Stevens, I didn't see you in the room with the rest of us, but that's exactly what we talked about, is doing some prepackaged type of thing and before the race, and then maybe a box lunch or something akin to that for after. And then we even talked about just not having any food at the end, just kind of have the water, the soda, the Gatorade, and
Sure.
the awards, and end it at that. Be done.
I think that's a great compromise and an effort to be able to keep the event. I'm sure the runners who enjoy doing it and competing would gladly give up the lunch at the end to still have the bragging rights and the opportunity to participate.
Right now, if I can add this, and another thing that we have to consider, and that's a big part of those events, especially weather dependent, is at the present time, it could change, but at the present time, the Rockwood School District isn't allowing us to use their facilities, which that's, like the gymnasiums at LaSalle Spring Middle School, that's where we have the whole event basically takes place there. Frozen Feet, we can't hardly do it without the school because everything outside and we can't predict the weather in January. So that's another component that we have to deal with at the present time.
And I think with almost anything related to this event, everything is going to be dependent on where we are in the new year. So although I agree with you and thank you for identifying that challenge, I think that'll be par for the course with the whole event. So I wouldn't look at that as a negative at this juncture.
So when you have the 5K, Gary, where is that held?
Both of our 5Ks are based out of LaSalle Springs Middle School. And that's kind of our headquarters. And we do a packet pickup inside there. They do the race day registrations indoors. And it would work great outdoors if we could guarantee the weather to be nice. But
Well,
most,
can you not just pull up a tent and send it? Look, I'm just curious. I mean, because I know that everything goes outside now, just about.
right. And we certainly can. And we've done that before, but it just
And
makes
then
things more difficult.
And when you were talking about the Wildwood Business Association helping out, maybe they could help out with that aspect of it.
That was my thought too,
prizes-
Vicky. I was
for the
wondering
prizes
if we
or
could have
something.
some kind of sponsorships, maybe with some of the health people we have in the area, fitness people, not me, but some other fitness people
Well,
that.
you and I will hold the poster board sign.
Yeah, we're good at that, but in the golf cart.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
For me, I'm going to participate in that.
I will. I'll hold the sign for you. But you know, we're talking April. This is gonna be after everybody has been inside all winter with all their loved ones, right? They might be ready to get outside and not care that they're in a tent getting their bag of food. The goal is gonna be to get them to not run away when they start running. We need them to come back, right?
Yeah. And you know, they could maybe sponsor some t-shirts. That would be great advertisement for their, you know, it could be Wildwood and then Fun Fitness or Title Boxing people. I don't know. This is a thought, maybe going, not this year, but maybe going forward.
Okay. Joe, one question. What would be the amount of money, a ballpark figure, or maybe Gary or Kathy knows this, that the WBA would need to put on their event? What kind of dollars would we have to expend for that? Joe, Gary, Kathy, do we have any idea?
Well, the original proposal to replace the barbecue bash that Frank Schmier hosted in the city of Wildwood was $17,000. The WBA was requesting that amount as kind of the seed money. They believe they would easily exceed that in terms of vendor fees, sales of alcoholic beverages, et cetera. And that's what they plan to return to the city, was the $17,000. And then whatever they made beyond that would go toward their organization.
Okay.
And Mr. Garreton, I think that's the right number, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back to it as well. You know, maybe I would just round it up to like 20 to be safe. But they did say that if their model executed according to how they planned it, then yes, the city, those funds would be returned back to the city. But that was made pre-COVID, that model. So I don't know how that will be impacted with any potential restrictions or if COVID's still an issue.
The benefit of partnering with the WBA is they are a not-for-profit, so they can't, that's why they can guarantee to return some of the money, because they can't technically profit off of the event. So
Yeah. And their approach was a bit different than your typical barbecue bash that you've seen in Wildwood over the years, because they kind of were, the barbecue bash that we're used to seeing was more of a competitive type of event. And those people that participated, while they did sell, sometimes they didn't have maybe enough food for everyone. And so the Wildwood Business Association was approaching it more of a way where it was more for selling barbecue and less on the competition side of it. And they also wanted to have something that would help raise funds where you would purchase for a fixed price, sort of like a special mug. And then they would have, like, I think some craft beers where you can like sample. So that was part of the money-making proposal. It's a little bit different than what we typically see.
Well, was there a number of participants that amount, the 17, or if you round it to the 20, was that based on a certain, like they would get 200 people to participate or 300 or something like that?
I'm sure there probably is a number to it. I think if the committee's serious, Emily Willis is the person that is from the Wildwood Business Association. I'm sure she'd be happy to attend like a next future meeting here. And we could talk through it with them to see how we could partner. So
That might be a good idea to have that person come to have something on a Friday night to kick off our big Celebrate Wildwood, our anniversary one. That might be a nice event. But we would have to figure out how many people. Well, we'd have to hear from WBA, number one. And then we'd have to find out what the participation could be with either reservations or something like that.
Yeah.
Corey?
No, I think, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'd say, yeah, let's, maybe an action item out of tonight's meeting is that we'll send an invite to Emily Willis, and we can talk more through it with her.
What does everyone think? Is it a good idea? Not?
I think it's a good idea. It may offset some of that 2,300 or the difference between the 93 and 95, I don't know. It might help. I don't think it could hurt.
Well, I think you save money because if we'd ideally like to have a barbecue event in 2021, but with budget constraints, we already have the fixed costs, the restrooms, and I guess some of the other fixed costs that would come with an event like that, such as the lighting, tables and so forth. So if you're going to have it already paid for and we just do it the night before, that would make probably make it more feasible than us trying to do something in 2021. We don't even have money budgeted for it separately.
I think it's a good idea, and it'd add another element of fun and excitement, something a little bit different. So yeah, I think we should definitely invite her to the next meeting.
And I do think it's a nice way because our Celebrate Wildwood in the past did have a Friday night component to it, but it was a 3-day event. So,
Right.
I always liked the Friday night and then the Saturday. I'm sure by Sunday, Joe, Kathy, Gary were worn out. So they get a break with just a 2-day event.
Corey, did you have a comment? I saw your hand go up before.
I was just questioning, it seemed important to you and others that we would have some idea how many people would attend this Friday night event. And I was having trouble understanding why that was important. If we were offering it as the lead in to the Saturday event, do we care if it's 500 or 200?
I think we need to understand where the line is as far as how many people to break even and then for it to become profitable. Remember, their model was that it would be no cost to the city, and we need to know what that number is. So they might have to resize the event, based on the conversation we have and what we're doing. And, I think we just have to talk with Emily to get those ideas.
Joe?
I think Mr. Garitano hit up on something, and I think it leads to Ms. Lawson's question as well. We do have just those intangible costs of having an event. And in this case, it's like the tables and chairs and tents and sound equipment, et cetera. Those are all things that if the WBA did a separate event, even with funding from the city, they'd have to do. So in some regards, they can have a smaller event because we're already covering some of the costs associated with their event or their standalone event. So I think it'd be a nice partnership if they're willing to work through it. We can give them some things and save them money, and they can basically promote our event that night. And if we're smart, maybe we, give them a coupon that night. You come Friday night, you get a coupon for a free soda the next day or something, or just simple stuff like that.
Okay. Corey?
Extending on those thoughts, would we be able to put another event in on Sunday to use the equipment that we've already got rented and already laid out and all that stuff? Is there anything that is in the plans that we could tack that on to make it even more of a big event?
We hadn't thought of anything along those lines, Miss Lawson. And I think from our experience with the art festival, and you've been there as well, the art festival picks up from like noon to 3 or 4 on Sundays because most people are either going to church or have other, taking kids to a sporting event. So I guess if we could find something that would work in that core set of hours, we could consider it. We could potentially move the race to that time frame. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of options to consider.
I don't know what it would
Yes,
be,
Pat.
but since we have all that stuff out, I thought maybe there would be something we could tack in there. What about a balloon glow or something like that? Of course, that would have to be on a nighttime, and on a Sunday, we wouldn't want to do anything at night. Okay, I just want to throw it out that maybe we can have some more fun packed in for the, not just an incremental more amount of money. Okay, muting now.
Pat?
Well, my question was, would that then impact the budget if we do an extended day? And I like the idea, Corey. I think we want to keep the art thought in our minds going forward for sure. I don't know where it would impact the budget. And if we would save money with the partnership with the WBA, would that offset some of the money that would go for the Sunday? I am really not a budget person, so that's probably way over my head. But anyway, that's a thought.
Corey, you had something else? I can't hear you.
No, I didn't unmute. I was thinking of something that was unrelated to art, but just something that would be fun for the community, in like a 6-hour or 4-hour kind of a thing. So the art thing, I've written that one off. So
Okay, so you weren't thinking additional art thing.
no. I was not thinking of that. I was just thinking of something fun for the community that was different than the Celebrate, that was different from the barbecue thing, that was something new that would bring out a different bunch of people on a Sunday.
Well, we haven't thought about a Sunday, so maybe if you all want to think about it between now and the next meeting, any ideas, certainly we can run them up the flagpole.
Vicki has her hand up, Susan.
Vicki?
My question runs back to something that somebody brought up earlier, and that was there an option, or was there a thought to maybe extending an invitation to artists to appear at this event? Now, maybe somebody answered it and I just missed it, but I don't think that it was answered. To let them know it's not a juried art show, but that they could come and put their stuff here. Yes, no? Did I miss it? Sorry.
When Miss Siebert and I were discussing the changes that were coming to the event, we did talk about the fact that we were intending to invite the crafters to celebrate Wildwood. Could we substitute the crafters with artists and give them the acknowledgement and full disclosure? This isn't like our art festival of the last of 2019, but you are more than welcome to participate. I don't know if that harms our art festival or not. I'd have to defer to Miss Lawson and others that do it more regularly than I.
Corey?
I think that if it's a one-day event, then we would take out the jury and all that stuff. We could just throw it out there, just like we would do for crafters or anybody else. If you want to participate in our one-day event, come on and participate, and not try to make it into a fine art show, not try to weed out anybody. Just come and let's have fun and sell your stuff. You know, and that way we're not going out trying to create fine art in Wildwood event. We're just trying to have fun and let people have fun if they want to. So a fine art event is not going to be a one-day event. Let's just have fun on a one-day event and invite everybody. That's what I say.
Well, for this year, I don't know. It sounds like a good idea. The more the merrier, whoever wants to participate for this year
Mhm.
as part of our 25th celebration might be a good idea. Yes, Corey?
Would we supply any, we wouldn't supply anything for them like we did for the art show. They would just be putting up their tent, and it'd be like the farmer's market, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about, Joe?
Well, certainly, but if Ms. Lawson is talking about a hospitality room or things like
No.
that.
Not do that. Let's not do that.
But-
Let's not try to make it into a partway art event. Let's just say, come and sell your stuff, bring your snacks.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Now Ken isn't here tonight, but we're still anticipating the Boy Scouts will be there with axe throwing, and we'll have maybe are we still thinking we'll have the historic people that do the
The
reenactment- reenactors?
That was the intent, ma'am, is to have the Boy Scouts have their events as well as have the reenactors return.
Great, thank you.
And one thing that came up in the minutes of last time about issuing a letter to the sponsors with various dollar amounts, smaller dollar amounts. Has anything been done or will be done?
It will be done. That was a shortcoming of mine. I had hoped to have the revised sponsorship form to you. The weeks got away from me, so my apology. But yes,
Okay.
the suggestion to kind of open it up to the community and just say, would you like to sponsor this event and have an opportunity to be recognized for your, your generosity and support.
I hate to
Okay.
disagree with Mr. Bunich, but I'm gonna disagree with Mr. Bunich. We actually had kind of discussed it, so it didn't really get lost in the shuffle, and I wouldn't claim it as a shortfall on his book or anyone else's book. The discussion was, once we knew that the budget was changing and now we were going, the whole event was different, and we wanted to hear from you all first. We also had it open because if you were going to discuss any change in date and putting, since it's now just one event, back in September or October instead of April, we didn't want to send out, so we've held back a bunch of stuff, just waiting till you all had given us all those final decisions. So.
Okay, well, yes, Libby.
That is a question that I have is, are we confirming the April date? Because there still are a lot of unknowns with COVID. Are we thinking that that's still the right time to do it? Or should we push it even farther back to more of the original time, maybe early fall? Has that been determined or discussed anymore?
That was the last item on my list for tonight. Dr. Remy, who is a council person representing Ward 3, has been very much involved with Washington University in the COVID-19 pandemic. What we're hearing is February, March at earliest for a vaccine. That vaccine will go to first responders, healthcare professionals, et cetera. It won't be distributed to the general population for a while. So April is still a big question mark, at least from, I think,
Okay.
Kath, Gary and I's perspective. But I mean, I feel bad. We've been bouncing around so much, but I don't know. I just don't know if, something could happen and then all of a sudden April's a great time, but I just don't know.
Well, we have time, don't we, right now?
Well, we've got a lot of things that we need to start doing pretty quickly. As part of your
Okay.
package, you got our update sheet. And as you can see, we haven't started a lot of things.
Right.
And a lot of those things need to get started probably sooner than later.
Okay, when would they have to be started?
Well, we typically don't meet in December because of the holidays, and we start right at the 1st of January. So that would only give us approximately 3+ months to make all the arrangements, get the commitments we need. Now, COVID-19 may play a role in that. There's not a lot of people doing things right now. So a lot of those vendors might just say, yeah, I'm still available because there's nothing else out there, but I don't know.
Do we know if there are any available October or, fall dates? Have we contingency thoughts?
Well, there is a prime date that's now available. For the better part of 11 years, we had the Wildwood Barbecue Bash on the last weekend of September, which was generally just perfect weather time. Hot on a couple of occasions, but generally not bad. So that would be an available date. And then we've always scheduled our art festival in October. So that would be an available date as well.
Well, if we did that, hopefully Ken would be available at our next meeting and he could tell us about the Boy Scouts and the high school band, Lafayette High School Band. We don't know, would they be available? We'd have to ask. I mean, that is the school year.
I think later in the school year, the availability of the high school band gets less. Kathy, could you?
Well, with football games, maybe, if there are any.
Yes, when we did discussed October, they were always a no. They move into band competitions the further it goes. So the last Saturday in August always worked for them because it was kind of before school. With school pushed back a little bit, I can follow up and see what September. I think October has. I can't guess, but October has historically been a no for them.
Okay. Corey?
I think Vicky was next. Vicky's been trying to.
Go ahead, Corey. That's okay, Corey. Go ahead.
We at one time we talked about having a middle school band instead of the Lafayette band. We like the Lafayette band. We love the Lafayette band, but maybe a middle school band would be a good way to go if we were going to do an October event.
I think whatever date you all select, we can begin with the Lafayette band, and if they're unavailable, we can move on and see what else.
I wanted to throw it out because I didn't want to lose the opportunity to do what could be a really, really nice weather, and we're further away from maybe the COVID wave. October could be pretty perfect to solve our problems. And I didn't want to lose that opportunity because Lafayette couldn't play, and that maybe we could have more than one middle school band marching. Do they do that? Do they march? They don't march, do they? Middle school bands?
I haven't seen them march.
No
Ma'am, I
idea.
refuse to tell you when I had children in middle school. You'll know my age.
Okay, all right, well, maybe we could open it up to something bigger. If we can't get Lafayette, maybe we can get middle school.
Would
I'm missing the
January,
orchestra.
would January be a possibility to make a decision? Or are you thinking that's too late, Joe Bonich? Mr. Bonich, do you think that would be pushing the envelope? Or do we need to get on a calendar, or what are our challenges with changing the date from the 24th of April to perhaps September 29th or October?
Well, if we change to late September, early October, January's fine. I mean, if that's the inclination. I'd have to defer to Gary Cruz. If we waited till January with the thought we were going to have it in the latter part of April. Gary?
My only concern, and it's nothing we can't overcome, but the music that we have booked, we changed it from the original date, we changed it to April, and now we're going to ask them to change it again. So if we are going to change it again, I'd rather do that sooner rather than later to give them, and also so they don't book themselves up too.
Susan? So my personal thought on this is that if we had to make a decision right now, listening to everything that we've just said and knowing that we're in the middle of a presidential election that could quite honestly at this point go either way, who knows, and dealing with the, although I say that I haven't watched the news all day, and dealing with the COVID crisis as it's been, where we are seeing, there's spikes in some areas and not in other, and some people are saying science says this and some people say the science is that. April's coming right off of the winter. It's coming right off of the cold air. I personally think people are going to be ready to just get out. But having said that, everything is so much of an unknown. I would have no problem making a motion stating, let's move this, because it sounds like it's going to be really the only big thing we're going to do next year. Move it to September. And that gives us more time to plan rather than trying to jump and try to figure out, can we do an Arbor Day 5K, and can the Wildwood Business Association help us? And also, I would think it would take a little bit of weight off of the shoulders of you at the city, who would be jumping through hoops to get all this together. And then maybe in February, the COVID numbers have spiked to where they say, nope, you can't do it. So my personal thought would be, as up in the air as everything is right now, I would have no problem making a motion to move it to September, and that would give us 9 months to plan accordingly. That's just my thought. I would defer to you in the city.
Since we have a quorum here tonight, do you want to take a vote on that?
Well, I'd like to hear from the people in the city, Joe and Kathy and Gary first, and maybe also Sergeant Wendling, and find out what they think about that.
Okay.
Well, I can say from my viewpoint, the more time you give me for the contracts that we already have in place to change those contracts, the better. So that would work better for us in the contract area.
Okay. Kathy?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but the way COVID is gone, I would think September has a much better guarantee. I think April still sounds potentially a no-go, and we're right back undoing everything that we've done. But
Right.
I don't know.
Joe Vunich, your thoughts on that?
Well, my observation of COVID-19 has been as follows. It's unpredictable. And for the most part, we've been promised a lot from the medical community, the federal and state governments, and generally none of them have delivered in the timeframes. So I'd rather have, I guess I'd rather have it later in the year, because I believe there's a greater assurance we can have it later in the year.
Then I'm going to make a motion to move
Okay,
it to
good.
September.
Okay.
I-
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I was gonna
All in
make it
favor?
heavy.
So if you just want to know the dates, that weekend, the last weekend in September is the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Just a quick question before we vote, is that perhaps should we make a definitive decision that it should be that date in September versus the potential date in October until we figure out things like the band and et cetera? Would it be a problem to make a motion that we're going to postpone it till fall of 2021? And then when we reconvene in January, let's begin to finalize that date? And any thoughts on that?
I think that would be good because that would also allow Ken to have input with the Boy Scouts as
Right.
well.
The
Well,
only
what-
issue would be if something else gets on the calendar. I don't know what's feasible for getting on the calendar, but sometimes calendars can get filled up.
And Kathy Arnett did say that October was a no for Lafayette High School band.
That's just based
So-
on past experience, though.
Right.
So,
The
okay, so
caveat,
how
I
about
don't
if
know for sure.
how about if I amend my motion to say, first choice would be the last weekend in September. And if we can't do that, then we'll try to do it in October. Is that better?
I
Okay.
second that. I second that amended motion.
Okay. All in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. All right. There you have it.
And Gary, that will give you a chance to talk to the bands, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, have you had a chance to look at the calendar? Would that be October 9th and 10th then for the second date possibly?
Could be the 1st and 2nd or the 8th or 9th. It's really, based on the motion, I think we have a little flexibility in October.
Okay.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
genius on my part, right?
Yes.
Very good, Vicky.
We expect it from you, Vicky.
Boy, have I got you all snowed.
Okay. Anything else that
We
somebody
want to
wants
make sure
to?
we have our golf carts, right, Vicky?
Oh, yes, those golf carts. Yeah.
Right, I
One
brought a
thing-
cricket maker. I'm gonna make big design.
One thing I wanted to bring up because I saw it in I guess, a Facebook post on the Wildwood website. There was a blurb in the newspaper regarding a former council member, Niall Steffens, who ran for mayor and who did not win, of course. And he was fined something for putting political statements on a company vehicle. And he refuted that. Well, that was in the newspaper. Well, the Facebook post, he was refuting it. And the comment that he made was, well, maybe he'll do something in the Wildwood Celebration Parade. Did you see that? Did anyone see that comment? Okay, well, he did. And I thought, wow, okay. That's something that we have not allowed in the past, and we're not going to allow it again because we've had that issue. Remember?
I
Joe?
thought we wrote guidelines. I thought the guidelines have been written that we present.
Yes.
and
But
were
I
accepted.
just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention in case you saw it, that we don't allow that. So I did not respond to his comment, but if it comes before our commission, if he brings it before our commission, we're not going to allow that. Okay,
And Ms. Ward is correct. You, as the commission, adopted guidelines for parade participants.
Mhm.
And along with that, you review each parade participant,
That's right.
give the thumbs up or the thumbs down.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, good, good.
Right. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, according to this, our next
Joe
meeting,
has something, Susan,
Oh.
Joe has something.
sorry, I didn't
Um,
see your hand. Yes.
That's quite all right. Just a couple of concluding things, and then I promise I'll mute myself away. First and foremost, thank you for your cooperation over the last year. As you know, we've had to change a lot of things a lot of times. We've covered the same subjects many times because of COVID-19, and your patience and understanding is not being taken for granted and taken for that it's just a simple thing to do. So we do appreciate it very much. And typically we do not meet in December. So our next meeting would be in the new year.
Okay, do we have a date in January for that?
January
Yes, ma'am.
6th.
January 6th. Okay,
And we want to thank you guys, Gary and Kathy and Joe, and for, sticking with us and helping us to navigate these waters, because speaking for myself, these are new waters for me. So I am learning a lot, and I appreciate your guidance and your mentorship and your just magnanimity to get things done. So thank you.
I agree. I second that.
Welcome.
Okay,
Well, since we're not meeting till the new year, I wish you all a very safe and happy holiday season.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
guys, as
Okay.
well.
Do you need
Good
a
night,
motion to
everyone.
adjourn? Do
Stay
you need a
safe.
motion to adjourn?
Stay safe. See you
Yes.
around town.
Okay.
Okay,
Ms. Siebert,
yes.
you need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, sorry. Is there
I'll
a
make
motion
it.
to adjourn? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I
Bye.
Stay safe.